1 2 1 2 1 2. Yeah. Why is there an echo? 1 2. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, members working. I'll have a look. This needs to be looser, so you can do that. This one's too tight.
You need them loose.
Because once they're in, they stay well.
Oh, yeah.
Supposed to. Huh.
If he's moved to that speaker,
Yeah.
it's fine. Move
This one?
upstairs. There's no. Then the sounds go up and down. There's something.
Still?
Only upstairs. Downstairs.
Says it on the channel. We'll have to have a look at that.
Hello, hello. 1 2 3 testing.
That's fine. One, two.
Hello, hello. 1 2 3 testing, testing. Hello, hello. Yeah. Hello, hello. Hello. Hello, hello. 1 2 3. Hello, hello. 1 2 3 testing, testing. This is Dwa mic, Shad. Yeah, I think it's. Sorry? It's done. Yeah.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن علي ولي الله. أشهد أن علي حجة الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل. حي على خير العمل. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. لا إله إلا الله. صلوات.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن محمد رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله وأن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح. حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقومون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب اجعلني مقيم الصلاة ومن ذريتي ربنا وتقبل دعاء. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقعد. سبحان الله. سبحان الله. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده رب صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. إلهي أنت كما أحب فاجعلني كما تحب. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما هو أهله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم إني أسألك موجبات رحمتك وعزائم مغفرتك والنجاة من النار ومن كل بلية والفوز بالجنة والرضوان في دار السلام وجوار نبيك محمد عليه وآله السلام. اللهم ما بنا من نعمة فمنك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.
الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن عليا ولي الله وأن عليا حجة الله. حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح حي على خير العمل حي على خير العمل. قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. الله أكبر. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر وما أدراك ما ليلة القدر. ليلة القدر خير من 1000 شهر. تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها بإذن ربهم من كل أمر. سلام هي حتى مطلع الفجر. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب إليه. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته أقوم وأقوم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين. إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. كذلك الله. الله أكبر. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. رب اغفر لي ولوالدي وللمؤمنين يوم يقوم الحساب. رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا واجزهما بالإحسان إحسانا وبالسيئات عفوا وغفرانا. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي وأتوب. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما هو أهله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقوم. سبحان الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. بحول الله وقوته يقوم وأقوم. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي العظيم وبحمده. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. الله أكبر. استغفر الله ربي. الله أكبر. سبحان الله سبحان الله سبحان ربي الأعلى وبحمده. إلهي أنت كما أحب فاجعلني كما تحب. الله أكبر. الحمد لله كما هو أهله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك أيها النبي ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم الرحمن الرحيم ذو الجلال والإكرام وأتوب إليه. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إلهي بحق ياسين والقرآن الحكيم وبحق طه والقرآن العظيم، يا من يقدر على حوائج السائلين، يا من يعلم ما في الضمير، يا منفس عن المكروبين، يا مفرج عن المغمومين، يا راحم الشيخ الكبير، يا رازق الطفل الصغير، يا من لا يحتاج إلى التفسير، صل على محمد وآل محمد وافعل به حاجات. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وناخت برحلك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء، السلام عليك يا عنيس الفقراء، السلطان أبا الحسن علي بن موسى الرضا، كن شفيعنا وشفيع والدينا في يوم الجزاء ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان، السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمامنا وإمام الإنس والجان، عجل الله لك ما وعدك من النصر وظهور الأمر. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان. والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان. والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجان من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. رب المشرقين ورب المغربين فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. مرج البحرين يلتقيان بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يخرج منهما اللؤلؤ والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. وله الجوار المنشآت في البحر كالأعلام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. كل من عليها فان ويبقى وجه ربك ذو الجلال والإكرام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يسأله من في السماوات والأرض كل يوم هو في شأن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. سنفرغ لكم أيها الثقلان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يا معشر الجن والإنس إن استطعتم أن تنقذوا من أقطار السماوات والأرض فانفذوا لا تنقذون إلا بسلطان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يرسل عليكما شواظ من نار ونحاس فلا تنتصران فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فإذا انشقت السماء فكانت وردة كالدهان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فيومئذ لا يسأل عن ذنبه إنس ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. يعرف المجرمون بسيماهم فيؤخذ بالنواسي والأقدام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. هذه جهنم التي يكذب بها المجرمون يطوفون بينها وبين حميم آن فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. ولمن خاف مقام ربه جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. ذواتا أفنان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فيهما عينان تجريان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فيهما من كل فاكهة زوجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. متكئين على فرش بطائنها من استبرك وجنى الجنتين دان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فيهن قاصرات الطرف لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. كأنهن الياقوت والمرجان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. ومن دونهما جنتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. مدهامتان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. فيهما عينان نضاختان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهما فاكهة والنخل والرمان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان فيهن خيرات حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان حور مقصورات في الخيام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان لم يطمثهن إنس قبلهم ولا جان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان متكئين على رفرف خضر عبقري حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان تبارك اسم ربك ذي الجلال والإكرام صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. الفاتحة.
And if we could invite Mujtaba Jafar with a loud Nar Salawat for Dua Tawassul. Allahumma salli
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إني أسألك وأتوجه إليك بنبيك نبي الرحمة محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. يا أبا القاسم يا رسول الله يا إمام الرحمة يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا فاطمة الزهراء يا بنت محمد يا قرة عين الرسول يا سيدتنا ومولاتنا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيحة عند الله اشفعي لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها المجتبى يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين بن علي أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها الباقر يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا عبد الله يا جعفر بن محمد أيها الصادق يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا موسى بن جعفر أيها الكاظم يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى أيها الرضا يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا جعفر يا محمد بن علي أيها التقي الجواد يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن محمد أيها الحادي النقي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا أبا محمد يا حسن بن علي أيها الزكي العسكري يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله.
يا وصي الحسن والخلف الحجة أيها القائم المنتظر المهدي يا ابن رسول الله يا حجة الله على خلقه يا سيدنا ومولانا، إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا عند الله. يا سادتي وموالي إني توجهت بكم أئمتي وعدتي ليوم فقري وحاجتي إلى الله وتوسلت بكم إلى الله واستشفعت بكم إلى الله، فاشفعوا لي عند الله واستنقذوني من ذنوبي عند الله، فإنكم وسيلتي إلى الله وبحبكم وبقربكم أرجو نجاة من الله، فكونوا عند الله رجائي يا سادتي يا أولياء الله. صلى الله عليهم أجمعين ولعن الله أعداء الله ظالميهم من الأولين والآخرين، آمين رب العالمين. سورة بركة الفاتحة.
We're now going to continue with a Marcia. So if I can invite Sahel Nasser to come up, please.
الفاتحة. زندگی ہو گئی ویران ماں تیرے جانے سے، زندگی ہو گئی ویران ماں تیرے جانے سے، گھر بھی اب لگتا ہے سنسان ماں تیرے جانے سے، تیرے ہوتے ہوئے ہوتے تھے زمانے میرے، تیرے ہوتے ہوئے ہوتے تھے زمانے میرے، لگتے ہیں اب سبھی انجان ماں تیرے جانے سے، زندگی ہو گئی ویران ماں تیرے جانے سے، بیٹھ کر پاس میرے باتیں جہاں کرتی تھی، بیٹھ کر پاس میرے باتیں جہاں کرتی تھی، سونا وہ ہو گیا تالان ماں تیرے جانے سے، کتنے دکھ میں نے دیے تو نے وہ ہنس کر ہی سہے، کتنے دکھ میں نے دیے تو نے وہ ہنس کر ہی سہے، سوچ کر میں ہوں پریشان ماں تیرے جانے سے، موت آ جاتی مجھے ماں تیری خدمت کر کے، موت آ جاتی مجھے ماں تیری خدمت کر کے، رہ گیا دل میں یہ ارمان ماں تیرے جانے سے، زندگی ہو گئی ویران ماں تیرے جانے سے، جاتے جاتے بھی دعا جینے کی دی تو نے مجھے، جاتے 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 بھی دعا جینے کی دی تو نے مجھے، اب وہی ہے تیرے پہچان ماں تیرے جانے سے، ہر طرف ڈھونڈتی ہے میری نگاہیں تجھ کو، ہر طرف ڈھونڈتی ہے میری نگاہیں تجھ کو، تیری یاد آتی ہے ہر بار ماں تیرے جانے سے، بعد میرے بھی یوں ہی ساتھ میں سب مل کے رہے، بعد میرے بھی یوں ہی ساتھ میں سب مل کے رہے، یاد آتا ہے یہ فرمان ماں تیرے جانے سے، زندگی ہو گئی ویران ماں تیرے جانے سے۔ الفاتحہ۔
Thank you. And now if I could invite Mohammed Abbas Kareem to recite a Marthia as well. Thank you.
ایک اور صلوات پڑھ دیجیے محمد و آل محمد پر۔
آل عمران کہاں، آل عمران کہاں، اور زندان کہاں، یہ بہن قید ہوئی ہے تو نہ آیا غازی، جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی ہے تو نہ آیا غازی، ہم کو پانی نہ ملے تیری خوشبو تو رہے، تیرے بازو نہ کٹے، چاہے مشکی سچ دے، یہ مگر ہو نہ سکا، تیرے بازو ہے جدا، مجھ پہ ہے تشنا لبی تو نہ آیا غازی، اور دھوپ میں تو تھا شجر، تجھ سے آباد تھا گھر، ہے برہنا میرا سر، کیا نہیں تجھ کو خبر، اے علمدار وفا، اس بہن کو باخدا، تجھ سے ڈھارس تھی بڑی تو نہ آیا غازی، اور کیا کہوں شیر میرے ارے یہ مسلمان سارے شہر در شہر گئے، خلقت کوفہ کبھی، خلقت شام کبھی، بارہا ہم پہ ہنسی تو نہ آیا غازی، آ گئی شام علم، لٹ گئے اہل حرم، ارے ریت پر جلتی ہوئی ہو گیا ٹھنڈا عالم، پرسہ دینے کے لیے مجھ سے ملنے کے لیے آ گئے پاپالی، تو نہ آیا غازی، قید خانے میں قضا جب سکینہ کو ملی، ہائے دیکھ کرتے کا کفن بچی دفنائی گئی، اس گھڑی نام تیرا صورت ناد علی، بس میں دہراتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی،
مکتب پیش کروں؟
رویا ریحان قلم کر کے یہ بات رقم، خون میں ڈوب گیا میرے غازی کا علم، زخمی زینب کا جگر، خوف شاہ کا سر، آئے خیموں میں شقی تو نہ آیا غازی، جب ردا سر سے چھنی میں صدا دیتی رہی تو نہ آیا غازی،
برائے تاجیل ظہور امام زمان آواز بلند صلوات۔
Before we start with the Majlis, if I could ask everyone to move as far forward as possible, please, and whilst trying to maintain social distancing. Thank you. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And if I could now invite Sheikh Ali Hussein Datu with a loud salawat, Allah Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، الحمد لله رب العالمين، الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله، ثم الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب نفوسنا محمد بن عبد الله وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، اللهم صل على قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين، بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، لن تنالوا البر حتى تنفقوا مما تحبون وما تنفقوا من شيء فإن الله به عليم، آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على Respected elders, brothers, sisters, the peace of God be upon you, and Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We've gathered here today to remember, to commemorate, and very importantly, to learn from the beautiful, yet for us short-lived life of our dear sister Marhuma Nishat Dossa, who God desired to see in His garden of bliss at the tender age of 39. We give these individuals who have now begun the continuous journey and left the temporal life and us behind, we give the righteous ones from amongst them the title of Marhum for the men or Marhuma for the women. It is translated as an individual who is the recipient of the mercy of God. As one moves away from this life, which we are told in our corpus of traditions from the Prophet and his holy household, that this world, this temporal life, is a world that is full of trials and tribulations, difficulties, that you and I have a goal to achieve, and that is our potential that you and I are born with and God-given, a potential to become men and women of reason, of intellect, to work hard in this life, to achieve a great degree of morality that is taught by God, not man-made morality. And within this time period that He has given us, a time period that we are unaware of, a day will come when we will take our last breath and will now come in front of Him to meet Him, to be accountable for what we did. And surely if we strive hard in this life, if we strove hard and we worked hard, as the Quran says, وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى, man will not have except that which he works hard for and strives for. Whatever we strive for, we'll see its benefits both in this life and the next. For those who believe in God, there is an overarching goal to their life. To every breath they take, to every action that you and I do in this life, there is an overarching goal. That if any one of our actions doesn't meet this goal, if it's not being done for this purpose, then we make changes very quickly. And that is a goal that's been prescribed by God Himself, that every act we do should be for His pleasure. Every breath we take, every intention we make, it should be taking us closer to His pleasure. And if at any moment we find that we're causing His displeasure, even in the slightest, you and I have been nurtured by our moral parents to be individuals that will quickly run away from an immoral path, a path of vice, and move towards a path of virtue. Under this main goal, we have two compartments. Either we work for the pleasure of God through our own private worship. That's when we pray the 5 daily prayers, or we go on pilgrimage, or before we sleep at night, we say a prayer to God. These types of actions are private, communication between us and God. That's required, and that's one part. But at the same time, there's another compartment that we cannot turn a blind eye to. It's pretty much as important as the first. It's prescribed in all faiths, not just Islam, but all divine faiths have the same prescription. And that is that you and I serve the creation of God as well. There are traditions from the holy household that are quite alarming to make you and I understand that on the day of judgment, when we're taken to account for this short life that we lived, many a question God will ask us is about how we treated other people in this life. Not just people, even His creation. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, has a tradition in which he says, "Irham man fil ard, yarhamukum man fis sama." Have mercy on those who are on earth, and the one in the skies will have mercy on you. Have mercy on all the creation. He doesn't say just human beings. Neither does he say only people of your creed, of your tribe, of your gender, of your ethnicity or race. He says, have mercy on all those on earth. Everything that lives has a right over you and I. And then only will the one in the skies have mercy over us. God has told us in the Quran, has He not, that He has created us from tribes and different cultures so that we are indifferent to one another, so that we stay at arm's length from one another, Rather, He said, I've created you in this beautiful multiplicity so that you get to know one another, so that you learn from one another, so that you have the opportunity of serving one another. You and I have become custodians by the mere fact that we are alive. Custodians on this earth over the environment that we have under our control, that we have a right over, that we use. Custodians over the gift of children that you and I are given by God, of our spouse, of our parents, and every other creature as well. Can you imagine that we're told this great man, Muhammad, peace be upon him, came to earth. He spent some 63 odd years propagating a message of morality. And then when you find out what we will be questioned over on the Day of Judgment, it's not only about did you pray the 5 daily prayers and did you go for pilgrimage and did you come to the mosque. These questions are there. But when you hear the type of questions, you realize that this is a much more holistic understanding of how we have to live our life. The tradition that tells us that God asks man, that were you even merciful and kind to a sparrow, to a bird? That what did you do to the creation of God around you? I paraphrase and try and take away a message from this tradition. If you see an insect in your house, how did you treat it? Did it not have a God-given right to live? Was the fly not made for that purpose that it should fly? Yes, it may irritate you and I in our rooms, but it's serving its precise purpose. Was the spider not made to weave a web? And did it not do that in the most perfect fashion so that it protected your profit and mine at a time? And today when we see the same insects in our house, what is our duty over them? If it's not kindness and mercy, do we not say that God mentions in the Quran that for all different prophets, they were created for different reasons. But this final prophet, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, God says, I have not created you but as a mercy to mankind. A man who will not hurt an animal or insect or a tree or a plant, let alone another human being. Expanding very briefly on this ability and opportunity that God gives us to serve others in this life, allow me to begin with this principle that God mentions in the Quran, the verse that I began with. لَن تَنَالُوا الْبِرَّ حَتَّى تُنْفِقُوا مِمَّا تُحِبُّونَ. Allah says, God says that you will not achieve righteousness. Your aim and your goal here is to become a moral human being. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are. If you don't have morals, you won't know how to spend that wealth. It doesn't matter how much information you can cram in your mind. If you're not moral, you will not know how to disperse that information, let alone act by it. God says, I'm giving you a principle of giving and of serving. That if you want to achieve righteousness, it's only going to happen if you give that which you love. First and foremost, give that which you love. Become customary to giving that which will hurt you when you give it. Hurt you in the sense that you want it as well. You want it, but you prefer it to be given to others. Doesn't the Quran talk about the first migration? When the Ansar and Muhajirun, when the Muhajirun migrated and the Ansar were there to welcome them with open hands. And God tells us in the Quran that these individuals, they welcomed them with open hands, these refugees as we would term them today. God says the Ansar, they welcomed them with open hands, but they went a step further. They preferred what they wanted for themselves and they gave it to others. They split their houses. They split their businesses. They shared this business that they sweat over to work for, to start from its infancy. They split those businesses and they gave, be it farms, be it cattle, they split them and they gave half to the Ansar. They had houses, and for a temporary time at least, they split their houses and they welcomed with open hands. You and I today have the very same opportunities, do we not? There are some parts of the world where the countries will not accept refugees. We live in a country where, to an extent, we are kind, merciful. Yes, we may have caused the plague that initially drove out people in the first place, but we now have the opportunities as citizens of this very country to do something. When you hear that refugees are coming, we heard that when the refugee crisis, when they were in Calais, just over the pond, over the lake. Now we hear that they're coming. You'll get an email that they're coming, and 35 families in Milton Keynes, and some families here and some families there. You have an opportunity to act upon this verse. Yes, you can give the clothes, and I can give the clothes that are worn out, that I don't like anymore. That's good. At least it's something. But we also have the opportunity to go and get that which I would have bought for myself. That money that I would have spent on myself, I can spend it on somebody else, and I can clothe somebody else's back. I can cover somebody else's body in clothes that are good, and give toys to children that they do yearn. I had an email the other day from Milton Keynes Council saying that there's this 4-year-old child and he really wants a football. Can you imagine a child who has gone through this traumatic, distressful journey, and the one thing they yearn for is something that you and I probably take for absolute granted. It's an opportunity that you and I have. And if you don't seize it with 2 hands, it passes away. And you don't know when the next opportunity is going to open its doors. Are we not individuals who are lovers of that man, that when beggars came knocking to his door for 3 days continuously, when he gave them the food that he was about to break his fast with, he mentions this verse of Quran. He says, إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ, I'm feeding you, and we are feeding you for the sake of God. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. Let it be known that I'm not asking for a reward from you. What I'm doing is for the pleasure of God, not for your pleasure. Don't get confused. Don't think I have multiplicity in my intention. My intention is one and one alone. That is to please God. Even if you're not thankful. And so he continues and he says, I don't want reward from you, neither do I want thanks. I don't even want you to say thank you to me. If you do, well and good. But if you don't, let it be known to you that I'm not seeking that. I'm not seeking your approval. I'm seeking God's approval in everything that I do. One of the greatest ways in which you and I can spend this life in that one compartment when we're looking at serving others is by giving our time. Time is something that is so precious to us. We would rather give our wealth and our money compared to our time. That's fine, but it shows you the value that we're giving to our time. We're very cautious as to who we meet and for how long we meet them, and for which charitable projects we're part of and which we're not. We want to see where is our time most best spent. We value it to that degree. Here, the Holy Prophet mentions in a tradition, he said that God spoke to Moses. He says, oh Moses, learn good and teach it to people. You have a duty to learn in this life. اطلب العلم من المهد إلى اللحد. Go and seek knowledge from cradle to grave. That's what your whole life should be about. It should be about progressing, about being a greater person. That's only going to happen if you're seeking knowledge, learning, and then acting upon it. It says, oh Moses, go and learn. Learn it. He doesn't say go and learn just religious laws. He says learn anything that's good. So long as it's good and it's moral, it can help you and others. Learn it. Any type of science. But then know that you have a duty with that which you've been given the opportunity to learn. You and I live in a country where our first degree is pretty much available to each and every individual at no cost. They'll take a loan based on inflation, but the first degree is available. Knowledge is at our fingertips. But then once we've sought it and acquired it, there's a duty upon our necks and our shoulders. He says, and then go and teach it. Go and teach it to other people, that which you've learned. For surely those who teach, we will enlighten their graves such that you'll never be afraid. An individual who is given the opportunity to be a teacher is an individual whose grave, God says, will be enlightened. They will never have any fright because they serve the community. When they're resurrected on the day of judgment, the Holy Prophet says they won't be resurrected as one person, one man or woman. They'll be resurrected as an entire community. Why? Because their deed was one deed. They taught one person, but that one individual taught 2, who taught 10. What we know as Sawab Jariyah. When we want to give good, we say, where can we give our charity such that it will continuously flow? Even if I've passed away. If I build a well, but it'll continue to satiate numerous people. Even if I've passed away, tens of thousands of people will drink that water. Those are the type of acts that we look for. One of the greatest is that of teaching. Because when you teach, then you teach one person who teaches 10. And before you know it, it's a butterfly effect. And you've actually changed you have the opportunity to change an entire nation, an entire community. We have this proverb, don't we, in English, that give a man a fish and you'll feed him for a day, but teach a man to fish and you'll feed him for a lifetime. Precisely that. The whole focus in this proverb is in teaching. that share a skill that you have. Don't see it as yours. Don't see it as you're the one who has acquired this knowledge and skill. Had it not been for God's given ability that He gave you of this intellect, of eyes, of senses that you have, the ability to memorize, to reason, to rationale, to fight in your intellect and to understand what you're grappling with. Had it not been given to you from God, you wouldn't be where you are today. So in servitude to God and to thank Him, the zakat of knowledge or the charity that is incumbent upon somebody who has acquired any type of knowledge. I reiterate, it's not religious knowledge that is being emphasized in our corpus of traditions and in the Quran. It's any good, any type of good. You and I have a God-given duty on our shoulders to go and pass it on to the next generation. It could be a businessman who finds it within his heart to spend his time, instead of earning more wealth for himself and his family, he finds it within his heart to now sit with a group of people, friends, family, younger generation, and teach them the skills that he has learned. Teach them the difficulties that he's gone through. Show them and give them a head start so they don't have the same hurdles that he had. Parents who teach their children. Whereas as Marhuma sister Nishat Dossa was a primary school teacher, an individual who you and I know will give hours, countless hours, more than they have to give by the letter of their contract. Individuals who want to see a smile on a child's face, who when the penny drops for a child and when the child has understood what they've tried to pass on to the child, that's what gives them satisfaction. It's not their paycheck at the end of the month. You and I know that health workers and teachers are firefighters and police individuals are individuals in our community and our society who are very underappreciated, underpaid. It's not for the money that people do this. It's for the satisfaction of giving back, to bring a child to an understanding, to see that light bulb moment. That's what this great lady who we have come to learn from her life was. And I believe she's a true testament to who she was, that even after God has taken her from this temporal life to His garden, you and I still sit here and learn from her. If that's not what a true teacher is, that even in their absence you can learn from her, then what is a teacher? I want to end with two quotes that I found on her blog. She has a blog online that I'm sure you can all access. It's available. I'm sure the links are known. If not, they will probably be mentioned. If you have some time, go through it. There's also an interview that took place with one of the scholars of our community where she speaks about her journey and her difficulty. But when I read the blog, what you see in this individual, or you see in the author, is a woman who has great reliance on God, who has great patience, who is teaching herself as well as teaching others. That yes, there will be tests in life, but it's how you embrace these tests that will show you its outcome. You know, when somebody's given difficulty, they can get angry. What is anger if it's not poison? It's like me drinking poison and expecting you to be affected by it. If I get angered, I'm the only one who's going to be affected. Not the opposition, not an illness, not a test or a difficulty or a financial situation that is in front of me. It's only me. But if you embrace it, and if you rely on God, and if you see it as that this came about not because of my own doing with my own hands, and therefore there must be a reason why God wants me to go through this. He's putting me through this trial and difficulty for a reason, and I need to come out smiling on the other side. She has two quotes. One, she mentions, appreciate what you have before time makes you appreciate what you had. It's telling, it's in accordance with the Quran. God swears in this book of a mere 6,600 verses. He uses an entire chapter to swear about time, to tell us that it's going. And it's only those who really focus on doing good, who believe and do good. Two things, the private worship is there, but also the sacrifice and the serving of others and doing good to others. When they come together, that individual has made the most of their potential in this life. And then she has a very telling saying in which she says, she quotes from a man called Dr. Wayne. She says, begin to see yourself as a soul with a body, rather than a body with a soul. If you realize that what God has created and the precious gem with you is not this physical body, God indicates, does He not? I will show you that it's temporal. I will make your hair go grey. I will make it fall off however hard you try. I will make your skin wrinkle because I want to show you that it's temporal. I will make you a man or a woman who is extremely agile in the prime of their youth, and I will make you someone who is so frail, sometimes even more frail than a young child. I will show you this cycle of life so that you realize that this is temporal. But what's permanent is that soul. That if you work to purify the soul, then you will find the best in this life and the next. But if you and I become men and women who simply focus in this life, on this life, for this body and its pleasures, it will be short-lived. I highly urge each and every one of you to read her blog or listen to the interview when you have time. We'll learn a lot from this great teacher, as I'm sure many others have learned. These days, this period that is amongst the that we live in, especially those who are lovers of the Holy Prophet and his household, these are days in which we commemorate the martyrdom of the third successor after the Holy Prophet, his grandson Hussein, peace be upon him, a man who stood for justice, a man who was a complete manifestation of God's divine characteristic in as much as a human could be. A man who gave and sacrificed to others, including his enemies, let alone the brethren and the community that he lives with. I want to mention an incident that takes place in Damascus and Sham, as he has now passed away on the 10th of Muharram that we just commemorated. His family are then taken as captives, moved to Iraq, Kufa, and then taken from Kufa to Sham, to Syria and Damascus. As he enters the market, which an order has been given to go and decorate the market because captives are being brought in. Little do people know that these are actually the family of the Holy Prophet. A narration says regarding an incident that took place, but I want you and I to just ponder on the immaculate morals of this great man. It says, وَجَاءَ الشَّيْخ وَدَنَا مِن نِسَاءِ الْحُسَيْنِ. An old man came and he came close to the women of Hussein, the women folk of the family of the third successor. In that state, he cried out and he insulted them. He says, Alhamdulillah alladhi qatalakum wa ahlakakum. All praise be to God who has taken you away from this life and has completed, annihilated you. وَأَرَاحَ الْبِلَادِ مِنْ رَجَالِكُمْ, and brought about relief to our country and our lands from removing your men from it. وَأَنْ أَمْكَنَ أَمِيرَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْكُمْ, and has put the hand of this oppressive tyrant Yazid upon you. You are now under his jurisdiction. At that point, the son of Hussein, Ali, who survived this incident and traumatic time in Karbala, he had the opportunity to get angry. He had the opportunity to insult, but instead, he saw that as an opportunity to teach. And he taught in the most kindest fashion. And he taught in such a fashion that this individual who was insulting the family of the Prophet, by the end of this communication, became a man who sought forgiveness from God and from this family of the Prophet for what he did. And he was then made a martyr himself. Ali ibn Hussein, the son of Ali, turns to this old man and he says, Ya Shaykh, O old man, hal qara'ta al-Quran? Have you read the verses in the Quran? Have you read this book? He says, yes, I've read it. Have you come across that verse where God says, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا إِلَّا الْمَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى? This verse where God says, I don't ask for anything, no reward. That the Prophet says, I did all of this for you. I taught you for 63 years, but never did I ask for reward. I didn't want anything monetary in return. That's not sincere guidance. What I want from you is one thing. مَوَدَّةَ فِي الْقُرْبَى, that you love my family for your sake, not mine. If you love them, it's not going to affect me, but if you love them, you will follow them, it'll affect you. The man says, I've read this verse. Imam Zayn al-Abidin says, فَنَحْنُ الْقُرْبَ يَا شَيْخ. Oh old man, let it be known to you that we are this close family that are being mentioned in this verse in the Quran. What about that verse in the 17th chapter in which God says, وَآتِ ذَا الْقُرْبَى حَقَّ, and give the close family their right? Have you read this? He says, I've read this. Imam says, وَنَحْنُ ذَا الْقُرْبَى يَا شَيْخ. We are the close family that are being referred to in this verse. How about that verse of purification, old man, where God says, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ, where God says, surely God wanted to remove all impurities from you, O people of the household, and cleanse you with a thorough purification. He says, I've read this verse. He says, oh man, we are that close family that are being mentioned in this verse of Tathir. The man becomes silent. He turns after a short period and looks again into the face of Ali. And he says, oh man, do you swear by God that you are these people? Imam says, Ali says, yes, I swear by God we are them. He throws his turban on the ground. He cries out to God. He says, oh God, I distance myself from these immoral individuals who are enemies of these moral, pious people. Then he turns to Ali and he says, is there a chance that I can be forgiven? This is what giving and serving people is. That you don't become, and I don't become, hurdles in their path. Rather we become opportunities for people around us. Imam didn't turn to him and say, no, I want you to go on your knees and I want you to ask for forgiveness from each and every one of my family that you insulted. He doesn't even mention himself or his family. He simply says, if you ask God for forgiveness, you'll be forgiven. Who am I? Who am I to forgive you? Ask God for forgiveness. I've already forgiven you. Ask God for forgiveness and He shall forgive. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We are from God and to God we shall return. Radhan biqada'ihi. We are pleased with His decree. Wa tasliman li amri. And we submit to His command. I ask you to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, the first chapter of the Quran, and send the blessings of this recitation or any prayer that you wish to recite in your hearts, and ask God to send its reward or its blessings to this pious, pure soul of our dear sister Marhuma Nishat Dossa. Al-Fatiha.
Thank you very much for your word, Sheikh. If anyone wants to have the links for the blog which Sheikh was speaking about, they're available on her Instagram page, which is the Nishat Dossa Foundation. And also, I believe there are leaflets at the front on which there's a QR code which you can scan and receive the links from there as well. If we can now invite Mawad Abbas Kareem for another Marthiyah, please. Thank you. With the Nara Salawat.
I've been requested to recite this munajat by the family, as it was very close to Marhuma Nishat by his heart. I request you all to join me in this recitation and keep her in your prayers as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Naam-e Abbas wasila hai har dua ke liye. Milke padhe. Naam-e Abbas wasila hai har dua ke liye. Isme है ये मोमिन की इल्तिजा के लिए. नाम-ए अब्बास वसीला है हर दुआ के लिए. कोई माने या ना माने है ये नाम-ए अब्बास तो बख्शिश का है सामान मेरा. चश्मे फैज़ है, चश्मे फैज़ है ये दर ہر ایک گدا کے لیے نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا. در پہ ایک بار جو آیا کبھی خالی نہ گیا، ہو کے مایوس کبھی کوئی سوالی نہ گیا. در کھلا رہتا ہے، در کھلا رہتا ہے عباس کا عطا کے لیے. نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا کے لیے. باوفا آپ کو بیمار مدینہ کی قسم، وہ جو بیمار ہے گر ان پہ ذرا نظر کرم. تیرے پرچم کی، تیرے پرچم کی ہوا چاہیے شفا کے لیے. بلند آواز میں نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا. جو عزادار زیارت کو تڑپتے ہیں تیری، آپ کو واسطہ شبیر کا مولا غازی در پہ بلوا لو، در پہ بلوا لو انہیں مجلس عزا کے لیے. نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا. دید کرتا ہوں علم پر تو قلم رکتا ہے، یاد آ جاتے ہیں غازی مجھے یوں لگتا ہے. ابھی روتا ہے، ابھی روتا ہے یہ زینب تیری رضا کے لیے. نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا. اور مقطع پیش کر رہا ہوں. رو کے کرتے ہیں یہ ازلان و کریم ایک دعا، بحر ظلمات میں اب ڈوب چکی ہے دنیا. بھیج دے مہدی دوران کو اب خدا کے لیے. نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا کے لیے. نام عباس وسیلہ ہے ہر دعا کے لیے. بر محمد و آل محمد بلندر صلوات. اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد. رحم اللہ من قرأ سورة المبارکة الفاتحة.
Thank you for your recitation. I just wanted to correct myself from earlier. The Instagram page is called the Nishat Dossa Fundraiser. And now, if on the ladies' side, I could invite Nishat Auntie's niece, Rubab Nasser, to recite a poem for us. Thank you. With a Salawat Allah Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
This is for you, Marcy, your husband Esaale, and your 2 children, Asia and Muhammad Kamal, in whom we see a part of you every single day. Nishat, our mother, wife, auntie and friend, it hurts so much to know it's the end. A missing part of us is really gone. For all of our hearts, you truly won. You inspired us and taught us how to live, and that no matter what, we should always forgive. The world can see how you found the colours, and we know that's something you learnt from your mother. You were in so much excruciating pain, yet you helped everyone else through the rain. Gifts you bought and love you gave, look how strong you were and just so brave. We see Masa, the kids, Nani and Ma, their broken heart, for from them is missing a big, big part. Your little Asia, we will love. Your little Asia, we will love. We promise to go over and above. Your special girl, how proud you are, and from her you'll never be far. Your qualities from her, they shine right through. She'll hold our family together just like glue. Your special Muhammad Kamal, we will care for and look after. We will do our best to make sure he always has laughter. On your funeral, he was nothing but brave, for he gave you permission to go to your grave. Sweetly and peacefully he lay you to rest. His heart was broken, but he did his best. Your Esaale is strong and done you so proud. For you to go to Allah, he peacefully allowed. Part of him has been ripped away, but together again you'll be, definitely someday. We see just how much his heart is broken, for so many things are left unspoken. We promise to keep him close and make sure he's okay, but also give him space, and for him we will pray. Your special mother is like no other. She holds it together, but it's hurting a lot, for the pain in her heart will never stop. Her little girl has gone away. She'll see you again, definitely someday. A mother has lost a part of herself now, but knows she must go on somehow. We hope the angels hover near to try and dry her endless tears. Your life was unfairly cut so short, but we know she'll always be grateful for the happiness you brought. Your brother and sister are in so much pain. They wish for one more hug once again. They can't find the words to express or say how much they miss you every single day. We'll see you soon, we know you're waiting, for your space in Jannah you are creating. Our sweet loving girl, our very own family pearl. Salawat.
Thank you for that very touching recitation. And if I could now invite Sahel Nasser up to give a speech with the Salawat Allah Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
Before I begin, please can we recite a Surah Fatiha for my grandfathers Muhammad Nattu, Sultan Ali Nattu, and my dear aunt Nishat Dossa. Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. My dear elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. I stand before you today speaking on behalf of Asia and Muhammad Kamal, and also my brothers Muhammad Abbas, Fayaz, Abbasili and Mustafa. As you can imagine, the past couple of days, weeks, I couldn't tell you because they've all blended into one, have been a very, very challenging time for our family. And we've had many ups and downs. And I think what's resonated through the family is the golden nuggets that Masi has left for us. So earlier today, I was thinking about some of these nuggets that have actually helped us go through what is a very, very difficult time. Some of you may have seen on Instagram and on Facebook a post, and it's a quote that my Masi, my aunt, actually created. So we all thought it was something she found. I've searched endlessly. It's not anything I can find online. And the quote goes, "The colours are all around us. We just have to look." And she very much looked for these colours in every situation in life. Even when she was diagnosed with her illness, she questioned whether it was a test or whether it was a blessing. And so one of the first things that we took solace in is that she took this as a blessing to get closer to God, to do more for family, and to enjoy more of the life that she had. The second nugget, or the second thing that we really cherished through our aunt is her ability to make every single person that she spoke to feel really special. So if she was talking to me about something that I was passionate about, I felt as if she really cared about what I was talking about. More than likely, she wasn't that interested, but she gave importance, and she did this with everybody. So the second thing that was really touching for everybody, in particular Masa and Asia and Muhammad Kamal, was the sheer number of people that came up to him and said that my aunt has had this impact, be it to do with school or be it to do with madrasa or whatever else it may be. A lot of people were touched by my Masi's kindness. So that's the second thing that gave us solace. There's something that Mustafa wanted to share, and it was something that he'd seen, and it's where a child asked its parent that, why does God take the best people first? To which the parent replied to the child, when you go to a garden and you pick a flower, which flower do you pick? And the response was, the most beautiful one. And I think in our hearts we felt that my Masi was this. She was just the beautiful Masi we had that supported us in everything. Apologies, it's hard not to just go on because she left so many lessons for us. Again, with hardship, somebody mentioned this yesterday, and we all will get told verily with hardship comes ease. And I've always took this to mean that Allah will give us hardship, and then after hardship we'll get some ease from it. And I think what Masi had really cracked and understood is that Allah gave the challenges, but with those challenges He gave the ease. It wasn't something that would come after. And I think this comes on to the final thing that I took from my aunt, and she says, and she also says on her blog, we act as if we are being chased by a lion, only to think that we'll be able to stop and then live. And the truth is that we'll never stop being chased by this metaphorical lion. So it's just about living in the moment. As Sheikh Ali Hussein mentioned, my Masi was a primary school teacher, and she absolutely adored working with children. And so when my cousins and my brothers and the family were together, we were thinking what would be the most dear thing to her. And it really was just being a teacher. So again, you may have seen on social media, and also when you leave, there's this quote from my aunt, the colours are all around us, we just have to look. But along with this, along with the Zara Trust and my Sadaqah, to whom we are most grateful, we're looking to raise funds for a school, to raise funds to contribute towards the construction of a school for orphans and the less fortunate in Syria. So as you leave, everybody will be handed one of these, and you'll be able to scan this QR code. And what this will do is it'll take you to the My Sadaqah page, where you can find her interview with Master Manti Jafar and also be able to read her blog. And if you wish to make a donation, we'd be most grateful. There's also a website here that you can visit. But the purpose of this isn't just to raise funds. Obviously, like Sheikh Ali Hussein mentioned, we look to, for our loved ones, provide them with sadaqah jariyah, which means to give them blessings that can go on for eternity. So by raising funds for a school for the rest of time, my aunt will get benefit from those blessings. But the second thing is just so that we can take some lessons from her. And I think one of the key things that she would have wanted to convey to everybody here is that if anybody is suffering from any sort of illness or anything that they feel is not quite right, please don't just bury your head in the sand. Don't think that it's okay, because there's always help. And if you listen to the conversation she has with Master Manti, you'll hear this. So please do take this away, and if there is anything that's a niggling worry in your mind, call your GP, speak to a medical practitioner, because it could make all the difference. The final thing I'd like to say is that the community has really come together to support the family, and we're so grateful for it. There are the Jamaat, also family members, friends have all come together, and for this we are very, very grateful. I'd also like to apologize for any shortcomings that may have come about as a result of strained emotions. So if you could please find it in your heart to forgive us. Above all, if you could forgive my aunt for anything that she may have done to you, we'd be most grateful. If you know of any debts that she may have had, if you could please approach my uncle Abbas Dossa, myself, or my uncle Arif Natta. And I think with that, if you could just look at the message, if it's something that resonates with you, do share it with your friends, do spread the message, because the more we can do for her, the happier it will make her, the happier it will make us. And with that, could I just request that we recite one final Surah Fatiha for both of my grandfathers, my aunt, and all the Marhumin in the Dossa family. Al-Fatiha. If you could please stand for ziyarat.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا خديجة الكبرى أم المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى زيارة عاشوراء، السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا خيرة الله وابن خيرته، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين، السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة سيدتي نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور، السلام عليك وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. يا أبا عبد الله، لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت وعظمت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل الإسلام، وجلت وعظمت مصيبتك في السماوات على جميع أهل السماوات، فلعن الله أمة أسست أساس الظلم والجور عليكم أهل البيت، ولعن الله أمة دفعتكم عن مقامكم وأزالتكم عن مراتبكم التي رتبكم الله فيها، ولعن الله أمة قتلتكم ولعن الله الممهدين لهم بالتمكين من قتالكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم ومن أشياعهم وأتباعهم وأوليائهم. يا أبا عبد الله إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم إلى يوم القيامة. ولعن الله آل زياد وآل مروان ولعن الله بني أمية قاطبة ولعن الله ابن مرجانة ولعن الله عمر بن سعد ولعن الله شمرا ولعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتنقبت لقتالك. بأبي أنت وأمي لقد عظم مصابي بك، فأسأل الله الذي أكرم مقامك وأكرمني بك أن يرزقني طلب ثأرك مع إمام منصور من أهل بيت محمد صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم اجعلني عندك وجيها بالحسين عليه السلام في الدنيا والآخرة. يا أبا عبد الله إني أتقرب إلى الله وإلى رسوله وإلى أمير المؤمنين وإلى فاطمة وإلى الحسن وإليك بموالاتك وبالبراءة ممن قاتلك ونصب لك الحرب وبالبراءة ممن أسس أساس الظلم والجور عليكم. وأبرأ إلى الله وإلى رسوله ممن أسس أساس ذلك وبنى عليه بنيانه وجرى في ظلمه وجوره عليكم وعلى أشياعكم. برئت إلى الله وإليكم منهم وأتقرب إلى الله ثم إليكم بموالاتكم وموالاة وليكم وبالبراءة من أعدائكم والناصبين لكم الحير وبالبراءة من أشياعهم وأتباعهم. إني سلم لمن سالمكم وحرب لمن حاربكم وولي لمن والاكم وعدو لمن عاداكم. فأسأل الله الذي أكرمني بمعرفتكم ومعرفة أوليائكم ورزقني البراءة من أعدائكم أن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة وأن يثبت لي عندكم قدم صدق في الدنيا والآخرة. وأسأله أن يبلغني المقام المحمود لكم عند الله وأن يرزقني طلب ثأري مع إمام هدى ظاهر ناطق بالحق منكم. وأسأل الله بحقكم وبالشأن الذي لكم عنده أن يعطيني بمصابي بكم أفضل ما يعطي مصابا بمصيبته ما أعظمها وأعظم رزيتها في الإسلام وفي جميع السماوات والأرض. اللهم اجعلني في مقامي هذا ممن تنال منك صلوات ورحمة ومغفرة. اللهم اجعل محياي محيا محمد وآل محمد ومماتي ممات محمد وآل محمد. اللهم إن هذا يوم تبركت به بنو أمية وابن آكلة الأكباد اللعين ابن اللعين على لسانك ولسان نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله في كل موطن وموقف وقف فيه نبيك صلى الله عليه وآله. اللهم لعن أبا سفيان ومعاوية ويزيد بن معاوية عليهم منك اللعنة أبد الآبدين. وهذا يوم فرحت به آل زياد وآل مروان بقتلهم الحسين صلوات الله عليه. اللهم فضاعف عليهم اللعن منك والعذاب الأليم. اللهم إني أتقرب إليك في هذا اليوم وفي موقف هذا وأيام حياتي بالبراءة منهم واللعنة عليهم وبالموالاة لنبيك وآل نبيك عليه وعليهم السلام. اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك. اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله. اللهم لعنهم جميعا. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. اللهم خص أنت أول ظالم باللعن مني وابدأ به أولا ثم لعن الثاني والثالث والرابع. اللهم لعن يزيد خامسا ولعن عبيد الله بن زياد وابن مرجان وعمر بن سعد وشمرا وآل أبي سفيان وآل زياد وآل مروان إلى يوم القيامة. سجود. اللهم لك الحمد حمد الشاكرين لك على مصابهم. الحمد لله على عظيم رزيتي. اللهم ارزقني شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لي قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا أئمة المعصومين من ذرية الحسين علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام عليك يا حجة الله يا ابن الحسن يا صاحب العصر والزمان سيدي الأمان 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 فتنة الزمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا. إلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة.
I'd like to thank you for coming today. Tabarruk will be served on exit outside. If I can ask if we can limit the noise levels, as there are residents who live on either side of the center. If anyone wishes to donate to the cause of the school in Syria, there is a card machine near the exit as well. So I'd like to and thank you for coming.